I never thought I'd see Ching Yua again. Yet there I was, wearing cheap clothes, an apron tied tightly around my waist, pushing a service cart stacked with bottles of premium red wine through a lavish banquet hall. Each bottle on that cart was worth more than my entire annual salary. And then I saw her. Ching Yua stood at the center of the hall, radiant and untouchable, as if the world naturally revolved around her. The spotlight belonged to her alone. Surrounded by admirers, she stood tall and composed, her fair skin glowing beneath the crystal chandeliers. Her features were so delicately sculpted they felt unreal, like something out of a painting. My steps faltered. It wasn't just the weight of a cart slowing me down. My left leg, slightly disabled from an old injury, throbbed with every step. Still, I forced myself forward, navigating carefully through the crowd until I reached the heart of the banquet hall. Then she turned. For a single, frozen second, the entire world went silent. My breath caught in my throat. Sweat trickled down my forehead. Panic surged through me, and instinctively I lowered my head, gripping the fabric of my uniform as tightly as I could, avoiding her gaze. Thankfully, Ching Yua snapped out of it first. Without a word, she calmly picked up a few wine glasses, filled with wines whose names I couldn't even pronounce, and seamlessly resumed her conversation. She laughed softly, gracefully, as if nothing had happened. The people around her were utterly enchanted. In just a few years, she had built a business empire worth billions. Now she was one of the most sought-after young entrepreneurs in the country. Once her attention shifted elsewhere, I quickly pushed the cart away, almost like I was running from something. From a distance, I watched her. She stood beneath the warm spring lighting, glowing effortlessly, chatting with powerful business elites, as if she'd been born into that world. Confident, elegant, untouchable. My name is Jiang Zi, and once, long ago, Ching Yua was my girlfriend. Well, technically my ex-girlfriend. I was the one who broke up with her, despite her begging me not to. We met during my university years, back in spring. At the time, my family ran a small business. I was your typical second-generation rich kid, reckless, immature, wasting my youth. I drank excessively, partied nonstop, went clubbing, raced cars. Life had no brakes, and I never bothered slowing down. Then one night I saw her. We were at our usual bar when she served our drinks. The Ching Yua I met that night was nothing like the goddess she'd later become. She was hunched over, her face pale, exhaustion etched into her features. Whether it came from life or work, I couldn't tell. "Why are you serving us today?" I asked. "Where's Amy?" Amy was our regular waitress. Amy's off today," she replied softly. I'm filling in for her. "What's your name?" "I'm Ching Yua." "Ching Yua?" I smiled. "That's a beautiful name. I like it." "Thank you," she said shyly, then hurried away, almost as if she were escaping. I watched her leave, feeling something I couldn't explain, a tug at my heart. It was strange. We'd just met, yet she felt familiar. My friends noticed me staring. "Z, don't tell me you're into that plain-looking girl," one of them teased. "Sure, she's got a decent figure, but come on." "Shut up," I snapped. "This young master has better taste than that." Then I raised my glass. "Drink. Tonight, we drink till we drop." But later that night, lying in bed and staring at the ceiling, I couldn't stop thinking about her. It didn't feel like a crush. It felt like fate. The next time I saw her was during a university club event. She was handing out flyers, drenched in sweat, wearing a checkered shirt. When she handed one to me, I froze. "Hey, Ching Yua," I said. "What are you doing here?" She looked confused. Her skin was tanned, slightly darker from the sun, but her eyes were clear and sharp. Who are you?" "It's me, Jiang Zi, from that day at Elysium Bar." Before I could say anything else, she rushed forward and covered my mouth. "I remember," she whispered urgently. "I remember. Just, please don't say that here. This is school." She looked flustered, and I found it adorable. "Stop handing those out," I said casually, pointing to a nearby cafe. "Come talk with me." "I can't," she said quickly. "This is a part-time job. If I finish handing these out, I'll earn 500 yuan." "I'll give you 1,000, I said. Come have coffee with me. She hesitated, clearly torn. Before she could decide, I grabbed the flyers from her hands and tossed them into a nearby trash can. If you don't say no, I'll take that as a yes, I said, pulling her along. She was too shocked to resist. At the cafe, she sat there dazed. I waved my hand in front of her face. Hey, stop daydreaming. Order whatever you want. My treat. That snapped her back. She stared at the menu for a long time, then quietly ordered the cheapest Americano. Seriously? I laughed. It's on me. Why order something so cheap? I just like it, she said softly. Don't you find it bitter? She shook her head. If you drink bitter things, life won't be bitter. She said it so earnestly that it stuck with me. I studied her more closely then. She was pretty, but sun exposure and hardship had left their marks. Faint acne, tired shadows, traces of struggle. You shouldn't have thrown away my flyers, she said gently. You offered me 1,000. If I'd finished, I would have earned 500. I'll give you 500 then. But if I finished, I would have had 2,000. Enough, I snapped, oddly frustrated, somehow feeling like I was the one being wronged. So I changed the subject. That day, I learned everything about her. She was a design student at our university. Her family was poor. Her parents divorced early. Her father was a gambling addict who never supported her. It was her grandmother who raised her. Since high school, she'd worked part-time to support herself. Her father didn't just ignore her. He stole her money to gamble. She couldn't stop him. There were times she almost couldn't pay tuition. If a kind teacher hadn't helped, she wouldn't have even finished high school. Then, just as she entered university, her grandmother passed away. She was completely alone. So she worked, bars, flyers, anything she could find, for a few hundred yuan at a time. Listening to her, my heart ached. I'd seen people struggle before, but something about her made me want to protect her. So I said, why don't you follow me from now on? I'll pay your tuition. I'll give you a monthly salary. She stiffened, arms crossed, cautious. I laughed. Relax. I'm not asking you to do anything weird. I'm a rich second generation. How could I not have a follower? If you don't want to, forget it. I agree, she said immediately. From that day on, she followed me everywhere. Quietly, always looking out for me. She took me home when I was drunk. Stopped me from doing stupid things. Listened when I was down. Back in the banquet hall, my thoughts snapped back to the present. Someone teased her, President Ching. Do you have a boyfriend now? Ching Yua smiled, and her eyes, almost unconsciously, glanced in my direction. I had an ex-boyfriend, she said calmly. Unfortunately, he dumped me for someone else. Who would be blind enough to dump such an incredible woman? Someone laughed. If it were me, I'd burn incense to thank my ancestors. At that moment, a tall, handsome man stepped forward and linked his arm with hers. Honey, he said confidently, didn't I tell you to stop thinking about the past? He turned to the crowd. Everyone, please excuse her. Ching Yua is my girlfriend. We're getting engaged soon. She smiled warmly at him. So it's young Master Lian Yun, someone exclaimed. Miss Ching Yua and Mr. Yun really are a perfect match. I recognized him immediately. Lian Yun, a famous young entrepreneur. I'd seen him everywhere. Magazines, news, headlines. And the ex-boyfriend she'd mentioned? That was me. Back then, I broke her heart. I said cruel things. I made her hate me. But I had no choice. I didn't want to drag her into my mess. We started dating about 3 months after she began following me. One night, like so many before, I drank too much. I blacked out. When I woke up, I was in bed. Ching Yua was beside me, half asleep. She looked exhausted. She always stayed up to take care of me. But that morning felt wrong. Her eyes were red. Her clothes were torn. There were red marks on her neck, cheeks, chest. My heart dropped. Did I do something horrible while I was drunk? I asked, trembling. You were very drunk, she said softly. You hugged me, said a lot of things, and tried to touch me. She pointed at the marks. Tears welled in her eyes. If you hadn't been so drunk last night, I might have, her voice cracked. You told me to follow you. You said you'd never bully me. She broke down, covering her face as she cried. I sat there, crushed. I had nearly become the very thing I promised I'd never be. From that moment on, she ended everything herself. She stopped following me. Stopped talking to me. Just like that, she walked out of my life. After she left, all that remained inside me was emptiness. I couldn't eat. I couldn't sleep. She haunted me. Every time I closed my eyes, it was her, smiling, crying, angry, gone. I tried everything to win her back. Gifts. Grand gestures. I even publicly declared at school that she was mine, warning anyone who dared hurt her that they'd answer to me. I must have been unbearable. Maybe I pushed her to her breaking point. But one day, she finally agreed to meet me. I was overjoyed. I prepared a long speech, apologies, confessions, everything I wanted to say. But the moment I saw her, every word vanished. She hadn't changed much. I had. Seeing how nervous I was, she spoke first. "What exactly do you want?" she asked. In that moment, I wanted to tell her everything. That I was wrong. That I couldn't live without her. That I missed her so much it hurt to breathe. But the speech I rehearsed collapsed into one clumsy sentence. "Ching Yua, I like you. Will you be my girlfriend?" The moment I said it, I wanted to run. But I stayed. My heart raced, breath shallow, waiting. If someone had told the old me, the party boy, that I'd ever be this nervous over a girl, I would have laughed. But the storm I expected never came. Ching Yua simply smiled. "You like me? Then why did you bully me?" she asked softly, her voice threaded with hurt. "I'm sorry," I stammered. "I didn't mean to. I was drunk." "Then you're not allowed to drink anymore," she said firmly. Then, after a brief pause, she added, "And from now on, I'll be the one bullying you." I didn't understand what she meant back then. But when I realized she had accepted me again, the joy that surged through me was indescribable. I pulled her into a tight embrace, holding on as if she might disappear the moment I loosened my arms. She gently patted my back. "Silly," she whispered. That memory replayed endlessly in my mind as I watched them now, Ching Yua and Lian Yun, standing together at the center of the room. The crowd around them began chanting excitedly. "Kiss, kiss." Lian Yun leaned in and kissed Ching Yua on the cheek. My heart sank. Without saying another word, I turned and walked away. That night, I couldn't sleep. I tossed and turned, staring at the ceiling as my thoughts spiraled out of control. All I could see was Lian Yun kissing her. They're getting married. If none of that had happened, shouldn't we be the ones getting married now? The thought gnawed at me relentlessly. My left leg began to ache, that familiar dull pain flaring up whenever I was under stress. Then my phone buzzed. It was my boss. He didn't even let me speak. "Xiao Jiang," he barked, "go to the hotel penthouse tomorrow night. You'll be serving as a companion." This was personally arranged by Miss Ching. She's the largest shareholder of the hotel. Don't mess this up. I don't know what she sees in you. Then he hung up. The dial tone echoed in my ear. I sat there, stunned. Why would Ching Yua request me of all people? Did she recognize me? But I changed so much over the years. Sometimes, even I didn't recognize myself. Still, there was no point in overthinking it. All I could do was take things one step at a time. The next night, I arrived at the hotel penthouse. It was extravagance beyond anything I'd ever imagined. Every decoration inside was worth more than my monthly salary. If it weren't for her, I would never have had the chance to step into a place like this. Inside the private room, Ching Yua sat beside Lian Yun. They were deep in conversation with several elders. The topic was their engagement, betrothal gifts, wedding dresses, venue arrangements. Every number they mentioned was astronomical. To someone like me, it was another world entirely. I stood silently behind her, head lowered, not daring to speak. Eventually, she turned and looked at me calmly. She pointed to a glass of wine on the table. "I don't hold my liquor well," she said. "Drink this for me." "Miss Ching," I murmured quietly, lowering my head even further. "This isn't part of my job." The words felt foreign coming out of my mouth. I used to call her Yui. "What rules?" she asked casually. "In this hotel, I am the rules." I glanced up slightly and saw her frowning. My refusal had clearly upset her. Leon Yun, and the elders looked puzzled, not understanding what was happening. But I knew her well enough. If I didn't drink now, she'd force me to drink later. So I sighed inwardly, picked up the glass, and downed it in one go. Then I stepped back behind her. "What?" she teased. "Am I so unpleasant to look at that you have to turn your back on me?" "Of course not, Miss Ching," I replied. "It's already against hotel rules for me to drink. If I face you while doing it, I'll be fired. I really need this job." "Still short on money?" she asked with a sneer. Then, without warning, she brought over an entire bottle of wine and placed it in front of me. "Drink this, and I won't pursue you for offending me. Otherwise, pack your bags and leave." "Okay, Yui." Leon tried to smooth things over. Why make things hard for a waiter? But Ching Yua didn't budge. Her large eyes stayed fixed on me. I knew I couldn't resist her. I picked up the bottle. The liquor burned my throat with every gulp. My stomach twisted violently, but I forced myself to finish it all. Then, without saying a word, I bowed and stumbled toward the bathroom. I collapsed onto the floor, clutching the toilet as wave after wave of nausea hit me. Then I coughed up blood. After that, I finally felt a little better. The metallic taste lingered in my throat, but I didn't blame her. No matter the reason, I had said things back then that cut her deeply. I hid in the bathroom for about half an hour, assuming she'd left by then. Slowly, I opened the door. She was still there, standing right outside, staring at me. I quickly lowered my head and tried to walk past her, but she grabbed my arm and shoved me against the wall. "Jang," she shouted, "how long are you going to keep hiding from me?" So she had known all along. I thought I disguised myself well, but for the sake of my pride, I muttered, "Miss Ching, you've got the wrong person. I'm not the Jang Z you knew." "Mistaken," she scoffed. "Even if you turned to ash, I would still recognize you." She shoved me again. Because of the limp in my left leg, I couldn't keep my balance. I fell to the ground. She immediately knelt beside me, worry flooding her face. She gently reached out and touched my left leg. Her lips trembled. Tears streamed down her cheeks. "Didn't you say you wanted a better life?" she whispered. "That you were going to find a nice girl and settle down? How did it end up like this?" Her tears pulled me back into the past. When we were still dating, loving someone was like tending a flower. When we were together, I gave her everything, my money, my energy, helping her bloom. She transformed from a quiet, overlooked girl into a confident, beautiful woman. She was like a peony in full bloom. She worked incredibly hard. With my financial support, she studied diligently and eventually earned a chance to study abroad, with a guaranteed postgraduate position waiting for her. But she never took my love for granted. She showed her affection in subtle ways, nibbling my ear as she whispered she loved me, hugging my arm, dreaming aloud about our future. And now, here she was, crying in front of me. "Jang, look," she said softly, her eyes shimmering. "The ancient said, only the clear breeze over the river and the bright moon between the mountains. Your name has Jiang River. Mine has Yui Moon. We really are a match made in heaven." She smiled through her tears. "I decided we'd name our child Jang Yui. Back then, I truly believed we would spend our lives together. But fate tore us apart. An accident ruined everything. My father was set up by business rivals. Our family empire collapsed overnight. Crushed by debt and despair, he jumped to his death. My mother tried desperately to repay the debts, but grief consumed her too. She died broken and depressed, leaving me with nothing but a house and memories. I was alone. Then Ching Yui's biological father appeared. A terrible man. He demanded money and threatened to ruin her by spreading false rumors, claiming she was a kept woman if she didn't pay him off. It was a crucial moment for her. She was about to receive her postgraduate recommendation. If that scandal spread, she'd lose everything she worked for. She was desperate. I couldn't bear to see her like that. So I did what I always did. I solved it. I gathered evidence of her father's illegal gambling and handed it to the police. He was arrested, but he tried to kill me. In that attack, I was left permanently disabled in my left leg. Still, I wanted her to chase her dreams. Studying abroad was expensive, so I sold my mother's house. That house was all I had left. Even then, it wasn't enough. I knew I would only drag her down. So, on a rainy night, I broke her heart. She knelt before me, begging to know what she'd done wrong. But I lied. I'm a rich second generation, I said coldly. You're just a poor girl. If it weren't for your looks, do you really think I'd be with you? Don't take it seriously. It was just for fun. I threw her a bank card. All the money from selling my house. 5 million yuan. Take it, I said. Consider it payment for your youth. I'm sure a poor girl like you has never seen this much money. Then I turned and walked away. Her sobs echoed behind me, tearing through my soul. My heart broke that night, but I couldn't turn back. If I did, everything I'd endured would have been meaningless. The days that followed were brutal. Ching Yua went abroad, just like we had once dreamed. As for me, with my family bankrupt, I reached out to old friends. But those who once called me brother avoided me like a disease. I became a nobody, a poor man struggling just to survive. To make ends meet, I worked odd jobs, food delivery, manual labor. But my physical condition made it impossible to keep steady work. It was only because the hotel manager pitied me that I was given a job as a waiter. It was a far cry from the life I once lived. And now, standing before me, was Ching Yua, the woman I once loved with my entire heart. Her tears fell like pearls onto my body. I reached out, wanting to wipe them away. But my hand froze midair. We were no longer who we used to be. I wasn't the reckless young man who spent money like water. And she wasn't the quiet girl who followed me everywhere. Now, Ching Yua was the country's hottest young entrepreneur. And I was just a waiter. Warmth spread across my palm as she gently placed her face in my hand. I wanted to pull away. She held it tightly. Her gaze never wavered. Miss Ching, I began. Call me Yui, she interrupted softly, a faint smile on her lips. That's what you used to call me. Yui, I whispered. You can actually pretend not to know me, she asked. After all, I'm just a nobody now, I said bitterly. She didn't let me finish. Without a word, she pulled me into her arms and gently patted my back. This time, she whispered, since heaven allowed me to meet you again, I will never let you leave. But aren't you getting engaged? I asked, confusion clouding my mind. You mean Lian Yun? She asked, smiling mysteriously. She didn't answer directly. Instead, she pulled me out of a hotel, leaving the past behind. Before I could say another word, she pushed me into her car and drove me to her home. When we arrived, I was stunned by the luxurious villa before us. Yet inside, the decor was simple, nostalgic, familiar. Do you like it? She asked softly, wrapping her arms around me from behind. Do you remember? She said softly. The decorations here are exactly the same as the apartment we lived in during university. I looked around again. Every detail was identical. She continued quietly. All these years, this place has been the only one that ever gave me peace. That night, we lay together in bed. Ching Yui rested beside me, one arm draped over my chest, her face pressed against my heart. It felt like stepping back into the past, a familiar warmth in a world that had changed too much. I gently stroked her hair. I thought you would hate me, I whispered. After all, I was so cruel back then. Ching Yui wrinkled her nose and looked up at me, her tone light but unwavering. Do I really look that stupid to you? We were together for so long. No one knows you better than I do. She paused before continuing. I admit, when you said those things, I was heartbroken, completely shattered. But after I went abroad and calmed down, I realized something wasn't right. I asked friends back home to look for you. But after we broke up, it was like you vanished from the world. I smiled bitterly. She was right. Back then, I had been lost in darkness, working in an illegal factory, barely seeing daylight for years. Disappearing had been my only way to survive. Ching Yui traced slow circles on my chest with her finger. I've been waiting for you to tell me the truth, she said softly, anticipation filling her voice. I sighed. There was no point hiding anymore. With her intelligence and resources, the truth would come out eventually anyway. So I told her everything. My injured leg, the bankruptcy, the money on the bank card, how I ended up in this situation. When I finished, she bit my arm lightly, tears brimming in her eyes. "You bastard," she said through sobs. "Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't we face it together? Am I really that unbearable?" She buried her face into my chest, and soon my shirt was soaked with her tears. I gently patted her back. "How could that be?" I whispered. "Back then, I was just a naive kid. Everything collapsed overnight. I lost everything. I was a mess. You had a brighter future ahead. I didn't want to become your burden." Her voice trembled as she spoke. "Don't you know? When did the moon first rise over the riverbank? When did the river's moon first shine upon people? You thought you'd be my burden, but without you, Jang, I'm just a walking corpse." Her words stunned me. "Do you really feel that way?" I asked quietly. "But aren't you about to get engaged?" Ching Yua laughed softly. "Instead of worrying about Leon, you should worry about yourself." My eyes widened. "What do you mean?" "He likes your type." I froze. "You mean he likes men?" She tapped my head lightly. "Silly. Otherwise, why do you think I agreed to this farce? He needed a marriage to cover his preference. I needed his resources. But now that you're back, this act is over." Guilt washed over me. "Did I ruin your plans?" She leaned in, her breath warm against my ear. "Silly. No one can replace you." Then she smiled teasingly. "But why did you make me drink so much?" she whispered, brushing her lips against my ear. My heart raced, and she laughed softly at my reaction before sealing my lips with hers. That night was filled with passion. When it finally ended, Ching Yua lay beside me, propped up on one elbow. "Rest well today," she said gently. "I have a surprise for you." I looked at her, confused. She kissed my cheek and hummed as she left the room. The day passed quickly. All my thoughts were filled with her. In the afternoon, she returned home, her face glowing with excitement. She rushed over and slapped a document onto the table. "Sign it," she said boldly. I opened it and froze. It was a transfer agreement. Every company under her name transferred to mine. "What are you doing?" I asked, stunned. "From now on," she said calmly, "everything that belongs to this girl belongs to you. Even this girl herself." "No," I protested. "This is everything you worked for. I can't sign this." "Ouch, ouch, ouch." She pinched my ear, a mischievous glint in her eyes. "What do you mean? Are you planning to leave me again?" "I won't," I said quickly. "Then sign it," she threatened, grinning, "or I'll roll around on the floor." I knew I had no way out. Reluctantly, I signed. She smiled brightly and nestled into my arms. "From now on, you're the boss. I'll just be the little woman by your side. You'll take care of me. And if you ever let me down—" She raised her fist playfully. I smiled and kissed her gently. "If I ever leave you again in this life, may I never." She pressed her finger to my lips. "Don't say that. I believe in you." "I have another surprise," she added excitedly. "I've booked the best orthopedic surgeon in the country. Your leg can be treated." "I'm used to it," I said, trying to brush it off. "But every time I see it," she said softly, tears forming, "I think of everything you sacrificed for me." "Okay," I sighed. "I'll listen to you." The surgery was successful. My leg gradually recovered. But strangely, I didn't feel the joy I expected. Because what truly mattered wasn't my leg. It was that Ching Yua, the most beautiful thing in my life, was beside me. One day, at the very hotel where we reunited, I knelt down before countless guests and took out a ring. "Ching Yua," I said, "will you marry me?" Her eyes filled with tears as she covered her mouth. I do." Half a year later, we held our wedding. Many friends attended, including Leon Yun, who arrived with his boyfriend. After he and Ching Yua ended their engagement, his family understood that sometimes life doesn't follow the rules. A year later, our daughter was born. We named her Jang Yua, a new beginning, a perfect union of the river and the moon, crescent moon water wave.